Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the number one English podcast. If you're eager to sharpen your English skills while enjoying engaging conversations, you've definitely come to the right place. I'm Emily, and joining me today is my co host, John.
Hello, friends. We're so glad you're here. Our mission with this podcast is to help you improve your English through easy to follow dialogues and useful discussions. And today's episode covers a topic that's incredibly important for all of us: building wealth.
That's right. At some point, we all begin to think seriously about our finances, whether we're saving up for a goal, learning how to invest, or simply trying to understand money better. Wealth isn't just for the elite. And in this episode, we'll offer ideas and strategies that are accessible to everyone.
The best part? By the time we wrap up today's conversation, you'll have learned a ton of financial vocabulary. And it'll feel totally natural because you'll be learning it through real, practical examples.
Exactly. You'll be practicing English and gaining valuable knowledge at the same time. Our favorite combination. So, John, let me ask, when did you first start paying attention to saving and thinking about your long-term financial well-being? Was there a moment that made you realize you needed a plan?
Oh, definitely. It was soon after I graduated and landed my first job. For the first time, I had a steady paycheck. But after a few months, I noticed something troubling. I had nothing left over. I was spending without thinking. When I finally looked at my bank balance and saw how little I had, I knew I had to make a change and start being more intentional with my money.
I think so many people can relate to that. For me, that moment came when I wanted to buy my first car. I hadn't saved anything, and I suddenly had to figure out how to make it happen. That's when I started learning about budgeting and building financial habits.
And that's where it all begins. Wealth building isn't something reserved for the wealthy. It's a process that anyone can begin, no matter their income level. And that's exactly what we want to emphasize today: practical, manageable steps toward financial growth.
Yes, and before we dive deeper, just a quick reminder. We've created a special downloadable PDF for this episode that includes all the vocabulary we'll cover, plus extra practice. You can grab it through the link in the description.
Also, make sure to stick around to the end. Our vocabulary specialist, Anna, will join us to explain the key words and expressions we're using today. She'll break everything down in a simple and clear way.
So let's start with a fundamental question. What exactly is wealth? A lot of people think it's about how much money you earn. But is that really what defines wealth?
Great question. Many people assume that a high salary equals wealth, but that's not always true. You could have a big income and still be living paycheck to paycheck. Wealth is more about the resources you keep and grow, not just the money that comes in, but what you do with it.
Absolutely. Wealth is about long-term financial strength. It's the value of what you own, your savings, your investments, your assets, minus what you owe. It's not just about how much you earn, but how you manage, preserve, and grow what you already have.
When I started working, I thought I was doing well just because I was earning a decent wage. But after a while, I realized I wasn't saving or investing. I wasn't building anything for the future. I was simply spending and starting over every month.
I've had that same realization. A steady income feels good, but it's not the same as financial security. Without goals and a plan to grow your resources, it's hard to build real wealth.
That's where financial goals come in. Having a target changes everything. It gives your money a purpose. Without a goal, it's easy to spend carelessly.
The first time I made a real financial plan was when I needed to save for a car down payment. I figured out how much I'd need, how much I could set aside each month, and how long it would take me to reach the goal. It gave me direction, and that made saving easier.
Financial goals do more than just help you save. They give your decisions meaning. Whether you're planning a big trip, paying off debt, saving for a home, or planning for retirement, having a clear objective keeps you focused and motivated.
Exactly. When I was paying down my student loans, I broke everything into smaller milestones. Instead of stressing over the total, I concentrated on one part at a time. And every time I reached a mini goal, I felt more empowered.
That's such a smart strategy. Big goals can be overwhelming, but when you divide them into realistic, smaller tasks, it feels manageable. Even something like building an emergency fund can feel easier if you start with a small goal, like $500, and build from there.
Once your goals are in place, the next step is figuring out how to grow your money. And that's where investing comes into the picture. Saving is essential, of course, but investing is how you actually make your money start working for you.
Exactly. There are lots of different options when it comes to investing: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate. I started out with mutual funds because they felt like a safer entry point, and over time, I learned how to diversify and try more advanced strategies.
I can relate to that. When I first heard about investing, it seemed confusing and even a little intimidating. But I started with my retirement account, made small contributions, and gradually learned more. What amazed me is how even small, consistent investments can grow significantly over time.
That's the power of compound interest. The earlier you start, even with small amounts, the more your investments can multiply. And once you see the results, it really motivates you to keep going.
Let's talk about something that can really slow down your financial progress: debt. In particular, credit card debt. It's easy to fall into and very difficult to get out of if you're not careful.
Oh yeah. When I got my first credit card, I wasn't really thinking about the interest rates. I just swiped it without a second thought. But the balance started growing faster than I could manage. Making only minimum payments didn't help, and the interest charges piled up quickly.
I've been there too. It's a tough cycle. Now I make sure to only use my credit card if I'm absolutely sure I can pay it off completely by the end of the month.
That's the smartest way to do it. Credit cards aren't evil. In fact, they can be helpful tools for building your credit score, but only if you manage them responsibly.
Paying your balance in full each month and avoiding large, unnecessary purchases are key habits if you want to avoid falling into debt.
Exactly. Because if your income is going toward paying off interest, you're not using that money to build your future.
Another trick that really helped me get my finances on track was automating my savings and investments. I used to try to remember to transfer money each month, but I wasn't always consistent.
Same here. But once I set up automatic transfers from my checking account to my savings account and investment accounts, things changed. It just happened behind the scenes and I didn't have to think about it.
Exactly. It's like your wealth is quietly building itself in the background. You don't even miss the money because it's already gone before you have a chance to spend it.
Automation is a powerful way to stay disciplined, especially if you have trouble sticking to a routine. It removes the temptation and keeps you consistent without extra effort.
Now, let's touch on a habit that sounds simple, but in reality can be pretty challenging: living below your means. It's one of the most important principles in personal finance.
Definitely. It means spending less than you earn. Sounds obvious, right? But in our modern world, with one-click purchases and endless advertisements, it's so easy to spend more than we should, sometimes without even noticing.
I remember when I got my first promotion. Suddenly, I felt like I could upgrade everything: new wardrobe, fancier dinners, better gadgets. But eventually, I realized that all that extra spending wasn't improving my life. It was just preventing me from saving more.
I've been through that too. It's called lifestyle inflation, when your expenses grow every time your income increases. It's a sneaky trap, and it can really keep you from building wealth.
But if you manage to keep your lifestyle steady, even as you earn more, that extra income can go towards saving, investing, or paying off debt. And over time, those decisions make a massive difference.
It's not about denying yourself comfort. It's about making smart, intentional choices. For example, I chose to keep my reliable old car instead of buying a new one. The money I saved went straight into my investment portfolio.
That brings us to another powerful strategy: building multiple streams of income. Depending on just one job or salary can be risky, especially in unpredictable times.
Exactly. I decided to start a small online business as a side hustle, and it's really helped me create extra income on top of my day job. It's also incredibly empowering, knowing that you're not relying on one paycheck to cover everything.
I did something similar. I started taking on freelance work during weekends, and that additional cash helped me pay down debt faster and build up savings more quickly.
There are so many possibilities now, whether it's freelancing, teaching online, renting out a spare room, investing, or selling digital products. Technology has opened doors like never before.
And once you see the benefits of having more than one income stream, it shifts your mindset. You start looking for opportunities everywhere. And that's a major part of growing financially. The more I learn about money, the more I realize that building wealth isn't just about math. It's about mindset. Your beliefs about money shape your habits more than you might expect.
That's so true. If you constantly tell yourself, I'll never be good with money or I'll always be broke, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. On the other hand, if you believe that improvement is possible and that wealth is achievable, you're already on the right path.
Exactly. I used to think that being wealthy was only for people who came from rich families or earned massive salaries. But once I started educating myself and setting small financial goals, my perspective changed.
That's what's called a growth mindset, believing that you can improve your situation through effort and learning. Even if your progress is slow at first, consistency matters. Building wealth is not a race. It's a marathon.
And it also means being willing to take calculated risks. Things like investing, starting a side business, or even switching careers involve some level of uncertainty. But if you prepare, research, and act thoughtfully, the rewards can be huge.
Mistakes are part of the journey. You might make a poor investment decision or lose some money along the way, but the key is to reflect, learn, and move forward. Every experience adds to your financial wisdom.
All right, now let's bring in our vocabulary expert, Anna, to help us review some of the key terms we've used in today's episode.
That's right. Anna, the mic is yours.
Thanks, Emily and John. Hi again, listeners. Let's take a moment to review some important vocabulary from today's episode. These words will not only help you talk about money, but also think about it more clearly. Wealth, the total value of all the money, assets, and investments someone owns. Example, wealth isn't just about how much money you make, but what you save and invest. Assets, resources or things of value like stocks, bonds, real estate, or cash that can grow in value. Example, investing in assets like property can help build your wealth. Financial goals, specific measurable objectives related to managing your money. Example, setting financial goals gave me a clear path to follow. Credit score, a numerical rating that shows how reliable a person is in paying back borrowed money. Example, a high credit score helps you get better interest rates on loans. Mutual funds, a type of investment where money is pooled from multiple investors. Example, I started by investing in mutual funds because they felt safer. Real estate, property consisting of land or buildings, often considered a long-term investment. Example, buying real estate is a good way to build assets that grow in value. Lifestyle inflation, when people increase their spending as their income goes up. Example, lifestyle inflation can stop you from building wealth even with a good salary. Multiple streams of income, earning money from more than one source. Example, having multiple streams of income adds financial security. Passive income, income earned with little to no effort after the initial setup. Example, passive income from investments helped me pay off debt faster. Automating savings, setting up automatic transfers to savings or investment accounts. Example, automating my savings made it easier to stick to my financial goals. Emergency fund, savings set aside for unexpected expenses. Example, I'm building an emergency fund to cover at least 3 months of expenses. Growth mindset, belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort. Example, having a growth mindset is key to building long-term wealth. Calculated risks, risks that are thought out and planned. Example, investing in the stock market is a calculated risk but can pay off. Wake-up call, an event that causes someone to take action. Example, seeing my empty bank account was a wake-up call to start saving. Put all your eggs in one basket, relying too much on one thing. Example, you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket by relying on just one job. Brick by brick, building something slowly and steadily. Example, building wealth is done brick by brick with small savings and investments. In the background, something that happens automatically or without attention. Example, my savings were growing in the background thanks to automatic transfers. Snowball effect, something that grows larger over time. Example, compound interest works like a snowball effect. Derail, to cause something to go off track. Example, debt can derail your wealth-building efforts if you're not careful. On track, moving in the right direction toward a goal. Example, paying off my credit card every month helps keep me on track. That's all for now. I hope this vocabulary helps you better understand the topic of today's podcast. Make sure to use these words in your everyday conversations. Both your English and your financial knowledge will grow together.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was incredibly useful. Expanding our vocabulary helps us become more confident speakers and smarter learners.
And that wraps up today's episode of the #1 English podcast. Don't forget to download the free PDF guide. It includes today's vocabulary and some extra tips and exercises.
We'd love to hear what you thought of the episode. Leave us a comment, give it a like, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. Let us know what topics you'd like us to cover in the future.
Thanks again for joining us today. Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, building wealth takes time, but every step you take brings you closer to your financial goals and better English.
That's right. And your journey doesn't end here. Click on the next episode or check out more of our videos to keep learning and growing. See you next time.